Hello and welcome back to my garden here at the Hunter's Tryst in Edinburgh. Today I'm going to do some late spring pruning on 3 different shrubs in the garden. This isn't just a tidy up job. I want to get the best out of all of my plants, and the 3 that I've chosen today are plants that need pruning for very different reasons. We're now in the last week of April and it's time to get out there and do some special pruning. I have several Cornus midwinter fire plants in my garden, and I'm sure you know that they're one of my favourites. But I grow them particularly for the colour of their winter stems. The best stem colour is always on new wood, and this is why every year I cut off the old wood to allow the new wood to grow where I want it. So I need to prune them in a way to make sure that I get these wonderful glowing stems winter after winter. This is the sum total of Tush's help in the garden today. Not a lot, as you can see. The Cornus midwinter fire is really looking very pretty just now, but these stems will have to be sacrificed for a much better display in the winter. We really have quite a short growing season here in Scotland, so it's important to give this plant as much time as possible to grow these wonderful stems. So this is why I cut them back really at the first sign of growth, when you can see the leaves coming. I have several of these plants in pots, and because they're surrounded by low-level planting, I can pretty much cut these stems right down to the ground. And you can see how much I've been able to take off just one plant here. But these Cornus midwinter fire are surrounded by a lot of bulb leaves. So I only cut these down to level with the top of the foliage. So at the moment, they're pretty well invisible. The treatment of hydrangeas is quite different, because what I'm wanting is a wonderful show of flowers. When a shrub flowers in the first half of the year, those flowers were created the previous year. So if you prune the shrub in autumn or early spring, you're going to lose most of these flowers for next year. But there's another consideration too. If you prune when there's still a chance of frost, then you run the risk of getting the leaves and buds damaged, and that will seriously affect how many flowers that you have. It's a judgment call, and you don't always get it right. I've left it as late as I felt I could, but there's still a risk of frost, and I just have to take my chances. The hydrangea flowers should be left on all through the winter. Nobody's pretending they're particularly attractive. And when everything else is greening up nicely, it's a real temptation to cut them off. But resist that temptation. They do serve a purpose. First of all, just having them physically there helps to protect the plant from frost. But secondly, cutting off those rather unsightly flower heads sends a message to the hydrangea to start growing for all it's worth, and that's what we don't want yet. But now we're close to the end of April, I'm going to show you the correct way to do it, so you should have lots of good flowers this year. The first thing to do is look over the whole plant and cut out any damaged or diseased branches or any particularly weak ones, and cut them right down to the ground so you're taking them out completely. Starting at the dead flower head, follow the stem down until you reach a good fat pair of buds. Using sharp secateurs, snip off the stem just above that pair of buds and discard it. Because this little hydrangea was moved earlier this year, all of the new growth is coming from the base, so I've just cut off all of the old wood and it will start afresh. But despite all my best efforts, shortly after I finished the pruning, we had a frost. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that it wasn't a hard enough frost to do any damage. And if the gods are smiling down on us, then this is how it will look in the summer. The last shrub I'm going to tell you about is Forsythia, and it flowers usually around about March, April. As soon as the flowers die, that's the time to take them off so that the plant has time to grow lots of new shoots and create new flower buds for next year. Because I was out of my house last year, this forsythia was neglected, and as you can see, all of the flowers are at the top, and you've just got quite ugly bare branches at the bottom. So as soon as the yellow flowers start to go over, I've cut them off, and I've also cut off quite a lot of the bare branches as well. It does look a bit brutal, but I'm quite sure the plant will be much improved for this treatment. I do hope this has been helpful for you. I know that pruning can be a little bit of a minefield, but if you understand how the plant works, I think it's easier to remember. So good luck with your gardening. Get out there with the pruning and don't leave it too late. Bye.